Hello, it's Miss Lauren from the West Fargo Public Library, here for our special STEM story time on the Big Bad Wolf. Today we're going to be talking about architecture for our STEM topic, but to start, we're going to read a few stories. The first couple are fun takes on a Big Bad Wolf, Three Little Pigs type story. The first book is called Ziggy, Piggy, and the Three Little Pigs by Frank Ash. Once upon a time, there were 4 little pigs. The first little pig lived in a house made of straw. His name was Ted. The second little pig lived in a house made of sticks. His name was Fred. The third little pig lived in a house made of bricks. His name was Ned. The fourth little pig didn't have a house at all. He slept outdoors under the stars. His name was Ziggy. One day, Ziggy went to visit his brother Ted. "I just stopped by to see if you wanted to go for a swim," said Ziggy. "Haven't you heard?" said Ted. "There's a big bad wolf in town. I have to stay home and put a new lock on my door. If you were smart, you wouldn't be thinking about swimming. You'd be building a house just like mine to keep you safe and sound." "You're probably right," said Ziggy, "but I really want to go swimming today." And he went down the road to visit his brother Fred. Fred had also heard about the big bad wolf. He was busy installing bars across his windows when Ziggy came into the yard and asked him to go swimming. "Swimming?" cried Fred. "If I were you, I'd stay here until the big bad wolf moves on." "Thanks for the offer," said Ziggy, "but it's too nice a day to be indoors." "Have it your way," said Fred. "Just don't say I never warned you." On his way to the beach, Ziggy stopped at Ned's house. Ned was putting a grate on his chimney. "What's that for?" called Ziggy. "It's just a little extra big bad wolf protection. They've been known to come down chimneys, you know. But this grate is guaranteed wolf-proof." "I don't imagine you'd be interested in going for a swim today," said Ziggy. "No way," said Ned. So Ziggy went swimming alone. While Ziggy splashed and built sandcastles on the beach, the big bad wolf went to visit Ted. "Open your door or I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in," declared the big bad wolf. "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," replied Ted. So the big bad wolf huffed and he puffed and blew Ted's house in. "Help, help," cried Ted, and he ran to Fred's house. Of course, the big bad wolf followed him. "Open your door or I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in," said the big bad wolf. "Not by the hair on our chinny chin chins," replied Ted and Fred. So the big bad wolf huffed and he puffed and he blew Fred's house in. "Hurry, let's go to Ned's house." When Ted and Fred arrived, Ned said, "Don't worry, you'll be safe here." "Are you sure?" asked Ted and Fred. "Of course I am," chuckled Ned. "No one can blow down a house made of bricks." Then they heard the voice of the big bad wolf. "Open your door or I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in," he bellowed. "Not by the hair of our chinny chin chins," cried the 3 little pigs. "And don't think you can come down the chimney either, because I fixed that." So the big bad wolf took a deep breath, and he huffed, and he puffed, and he puffed, and he huffed, and he blew Ned's house in. "Now what?" squealed Ted. "Beats me," said Ned. "This has never happened before." "Run for your lives," cried Fred. The 3 little pigs ran and ran until they came to the beach. Ziggy wasn't swimming anymore. After building sandcastles, he had made a raft out of driftwood. Now he was sunning himself and watching the clouds drift by. "He's coming," shouted Ted. "Who's coming?" asked Ziggy. "The big bad wolf," said Fred. "He's going to eat us for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you'll be his midnight snack." "Quick, hop aboard my raft," said Ziggy. "What good'll that do?" asked Ted. "If he can blow down a house made of bricks, he can surely blow your raft to smithereens." "Just do what I say and let me do the talking," said Ziggy. So the 3 little pigs swam out to Ziggy's raft. Just then, the big bad wolf appeared on the beach, only slightly out of breath. "Come off that raft or I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow it to pieces," said the big bad wolf. "You talk big," said Ziggy, "but I doubt you're wolf enough to blow out a birthday candle." "Oh yeah? Well, we'll see about that," said the big bad wolf. And he huffed and he puffed and he puffed and he huffed. At that very moment, Ziggy raised the sail of his raft. So when the big bad wolf finally blew, he blew the tiny raft far out to sea. At last the 4 little pigs were safe and sound. "We sure are glad you went to the beach today," said Ted, Fred, and Ned. "Me too," said Ziggy. And they all went for a swim. The end. All right, our next book is another kind of silly take on the big bad wolf. This one's called The 3 Little Fish and the Big Bad Shark, by Ken Geist, illustrated by Julia Gorton. Once upon a time, there lived a mama fish and her 3 little fish, Jim, Tim, and Kim. "It is now time," said the mama, "for each of you to make a home in the deep blue sea." So off they went. The first little fish, named Jim, swam away and met a seahorse playing in some seaweed. "Can I have some of the seaweed so I can build a house?" "Take as much as you can carry," said the seahorse. Jim gathered the seaweed and made a weedy little house. Jim had just finished building his seaweed house when he heard the big bad shark knocking at the door. Little fish, let me come in." The little fish trembled and replied, "Not by the skin of my finny fin fin." "Then I'll munch and I'll crunch and I'll smash your house in," replied the shark. So the big bad shark munched and he crunched and he ate up every bit of the seaweed house. And Jim swam away just in time. Soon Jim found his brother Tim and said, "Don't worry, Jim. We fish stick together. You can help me build a sandy little house." Jim and Tim had just started to relax in the sandy little house when the big bad shark came knocking at the door. Little fish, let me come in." To which the brave little fish replied, "Not by the skin of my finny fin fin." "Then I'll munch and I'll crunch and I'll smash your house in," roared the shark. So the big bad shark munched and he crunched until he got a sandy mouthful, and the house crumbled. Jim and Tim swam and swam until they reached their sister Kim. Kim was settling up her house in an old wooden ship. "The big bad shark destroyed our houses. Don't worry, you can live with me," said Kim. And they did. The 3 little fish had just finished lunch when they heard the big bad shark knocking at their door. Little fish, let me come in." To which the smart fish replied, "Not by the skin of my finny fin fin." "Then I'll munch and I'll crunch and I'll smash your house in," roared the shark. The big bad shark munched and he crunched, but he could not smash the house in, and all his teeth fell out. The 3 little fish were safe at last. The end. You see what that shark is eating? Seaweed. The end. All right, one last story and then we'll talk about our project. All right, so we have one last book until we talk about our project. This book is actually about our STEM topic today. It's called Iggy Peck, Architect, by Andrea Beatty and David Roberts. Young Iggy Peck is an architect and has been since he was 2, when he built a great tower in only an hour with nothing but diapers and glue. "Good gracious, Ignatius," his mother exclaimed, "that's the coolest thing I've ever seen." But her smile faded fast as a light wind blew past, and she realized those diapers weren't clean. "Ignatius, my son, what on earth have you done? That's disgusting and nasty, it stinks." But Iggy was gone. He was out on the lawn, using dirt and clods to build a great sphinx. When Iggy was 3, his parents could see his unusual passion would stay. He built churches and chapels from peaches and apples, and temples from modeling clay. At dinner one night, to his father's delight, Iggy got a bright gleam in his eye, and out on the porch built the St. Louis Arch from pancakes and coconut pie. Dear Ig had made it until 2nd grade, when his teacher was Miss Lila Greer. On the very first day, she had this to say: "We do not talk of buildings in here. Gothic or Romanesque, I couldn't care less about buildings, ancient or new. She said in her lecture about architecture that it had no place in grade 2. That might seem severe, but she was sincere, for when she was no more than 7, she had a great fright at a dizzying height in a building so tall it scraped heaven. On an architect's tour of the 95th floor, young Lila got lost from the group. She was found 2 days later in a stock elevator, eating cheese with the French circus troupe. After that day, it's quite safe to say, she thought all building lovers were nuts. As a teacher, she taught that above all, one ought to avoid them, no ifs, ands, or buts. As you might guess, it would cause Iggy stress to hear such terrible talk. But he didn't hear, he sat in the rear while building a castle of chalk. You, Iggy Peck, your desk is a wreck. Tear down that castle right now. You will not build in here, is that perfectly clear? Do you need to see Principal Howe? No, ma'am, Iggy said. He lowered his head, and his heart sank down to the floor. With no chance to build, his interest was killed. Now 2nd grade was a bore. After 12 long days that passed in a haze of reading, writing, and arithmetic, Miss Greer took the class to Blue River Pass for a hike and an old-fashioned picnic. They crossed an old trestle to a small island nestle in the heart of a bubbling stream. But they no sooner passed than the footbridge collapsed and Miss Lila Greer started to scream. We're trapped here! Oh my! Alas, kids, goodbye! Her eyeballs rolled back in her head. She dropped to the ground with a vague groaning sound, luckily fainting. The class was amazed. They stood there quite dazed, uncertain of what they should do. But one bright young man was off hatching a plan, which started with Miss Lila's shoe. Soon each lad and lass there at Blue River Pass was working together as one. And when she came to, Miss Lila Greer knew that something quite brave had been done. She looked in the air and saw hanging there a structure with cables and braces. And on the far side, beaming with pride, were 17 smiling young faces. Boots, tree roots, and strings, fruit roll-ups and things, some of which one should not mention, were stretched ridge to ridge in a glorious bridge, dangling from shoestring suspension. It all became clear to Miss Lila Greer as she crossed that bridge over the stream. There are worse things to do when you're in grade 2 than to spend your time building a dream. Now every week at Blue River Creek, elementary and 2nd grade, all the school kids can hear, along with Miss Greer, how the world's greatest buildings were made. The weekly guest speaker, in t-shirt and sneakers, talks of buildings from Rome to Quebec. Of course, he's the guy who builds towers from pie, that brilliant young man, Iggy Peck. The end. All right, so today our STEM topic, just like Iggy Peck, is on architects and architecture. So what we're doing today is talking about architecture, which is the science and art of designing buildings. So just like Iggy Peck did in this story, he likes to build and design his own buildings and creations. That's what our challenge is going to be today. So the big bad wolf loves to blow down houses, and he's looking for the next one to try. What our challenge is today is to use just the supplies in our kit to make a house that not even the big bad wolf can blow down. So if you received a kit from the library, it has some things in there like cardboard tubes, it has some straws, it has craft sticks, paper plates, and pipe cleaners. The last thing it has is this house shape here. So what you're going to do is use all of those supplies and either tape or glue, if you have that at home, to make a house. You're going to design your house however you like, and then you can glue this on the front if you'd like, or tape it on the front to be your house. And what the goal of your house is to not be blown down by the big bad wolf. So what I would use to be my big bad wolf would be a hair dryer, or if you have a fan. Once you have your house built, you get to test it out with your fan. If you don't have a fan or a hairdryer, you could always have mom or dad or a sibling pretend to be the big bad wolf and try to blow down your house. But you're just going to get creative and do some architecture. Design your house however you like, using maybe the plate as the base or the plate as the top, whatever you think might work together. What we really want to do is have a strong foundation. A foundation is the part of the house that connects it to the ground, sits low to the ground or the floor or the bottom of your plate, whatever you use. And that will help stabilize your house so it won't blow over or tip over or fall apart. So good luck in your building. I hope you have a sturdy house that won't get blown down. Thanks for watching.